Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. My name is Billy. I was married to Audrey for 6 years, and for most of that time, things were fine. Not perfect, not a fairy tale, just fine. We didn't scream at each other across the house. We weren't one of those couples posting fake happy photos online. We got up, went to work, cooked dinner, and watched shows. Quiet routine. We met through a friend of mine from college, and right from the start, she was steady. The kind of woman who didn't need attention from everyone in the room. That worked for me. I'm not the loud type either. We clicked, dated for 2 years, got married, moved into a modest 3-bedroom in a quiet part of town. I work in IT. She bounced between admin jobs until she landed a new one at a real estate firm. That's where things shifted. It wasn't obvious at first, just little things. Audrey started staying late more often. Networking, she called it. Then came the names I kept hearing. Natalie and Carla, her work friends. I'd ask how her day went, and she'd bring them up. Natalie's new hairstyle, Carla's new boyfriend, some client drama. I didn't think much of it. Everyone needs a social circle. I was glad she had one. But slowly, her tone toward me changed. She got short-tempered when I asked simple things. Her patience thinned. Jokes that used to make her laugh got eye rolls. One night, I reached over to touch her waist while we were cooking like I always did. She pulled away and said, "Can we not do that right now?" Still, I didn't panic. I figured work stress, maybe burnout, maybe those friends were just venting to each other, and she was carrying that energy home. I gave her space. I didn't push, but I started listening closer, watching patterns. And what I saw didn't look like the woman I married. It looked like someone trying to be something else. But I stayed quiet until I couldn't. It started with phrases Audrey never used before. Things like, "I need to start putting myself first," or, "Just because we're married doesn't mean I owe you explanations." These weren't arguments. They'd come out in random moments, like when I asked why she'd been home late 3 nights in a row, or why she ignored a message I sent during the day. One night, I asked her if she wanted to go visit my sister over the weekend. She looked at me and said, "I don't want to spend my days off around people I barely like. That's not self-care." Audrey had never been like that. She got along with my family just fine. But now, every request, every plan felt like an inconvenience. She was becoming sharp around the edges, hard to talk to. And every time we clashed, her phone would light up after. Natalie, Carla, like clockwork. Then came the turning point. I came home from work early on a Thursday, walked into the kitchen, heard laughter from the living room. Audrey was there with Natalie and Carla. I greeted them, got a cool hello back, then went to the bedroom. I didn't mean to listen, but I heard everything. They weren't whispering. Natalie was mid-rant. "Men only act right when they think they're about to lose something. I swear the best thing I ever did was leave for a week. That man was groveling by day 3. Carla chimed in, "Girl, they don't get it until you disappear. Then suddenly they're texting you paragraphs about how they miss your energy." She laughed. "Let them sweat." Then silence, followed by Audrey saying softly, "I've been thinking about it." That's when I knew. This wasn't just about stress. This wasn't just a phase. These women were feeding her garbage dressed up as empowerment, and Audrey was eating it up. That night, I brought it up. "Is this the kind of stuff you've been taking seriously?" I asked. She looked at me like I'd just accused her of a crime. "You were eavesdropping?" "I was home. You were talking loudly." Her jaw clenched. "I don't need you policing who I talk to." "I'm not policing. I'm pointing out that these friends of yours are filling your head with toxic garbage, and it's poisoning us." She walked out of the room. That was the end of the conversation. But not the end of the damage. It happened on a Sunday morning. Audrey was already dressed when I got up. Jeans, hoodie, duffel bag half-zipped on the floor. She was folding a charger into a side pocket when I stepped into the hallway. "Where are you going?" I asked. She didn't look at me. "I'm going to stay with Natalie for a week." "A week?" She zipped the bag shut. "I need space." I just stared. "We had dinner plans tonight." I canceled. Told Mia and Jordan something came up. "You mean you told my sister something came up, without even telling me first?" She sighed. "Billy, I'm doing this for us." I almost laughed. "You're leaving our house with no conversation to go crash at Natalie's place? And that's for us?" She looked me dead in the eye. Natalie said sometimes you have to teach a man to appreciate what he has. A little distance never killed anyone. And there it was. She didn't even try to pretend it was her own idea. You're seriously taking advice from a woman who brags about ghosting her boyfriend and makes Instagram quotes her personality? Audrey's face turned defensive. This isn't about her. This is about me realizing I've lost myself in this marriage. I need time to remember who I am. No, what you need is someone to tell you the truth. Natalie doesn't want you to find yourself. She wants company in her mess. She rolled her eyes. You're so threatened by other women. I'm threatened by reckless advice being treated like gospel, I said. You don't solve problems by running. Audrey slung the bag over her shoulder. It's 1 week, Billy. I just need time. She walked out the door like she was running an errand. No hug, no goodbye. I stood there in the quiet, door still open, wondering what kind of person turns their marriage into a power play just because their friend said it worked for her. And that's when it clicked. She wasn't teaching me a lesson. She was waiting to see if I'd break. In the first 24 hours, I didn't move much. I sat on the couch and just listened to the quiet. No footsteps down the hallway, no cabinet slams, no cold shoulder. I realized something. I wasn't sad. I was clear. Audrey thought I'd crumble, that I'd text her on day 2 begging her to come home, that I'd apologize for things I didn't do, just to get her back under this roof. But she miscalculated, because by day 3 I made a phone call, one she never saw coming. I called a divorce lawyer. His name was Kevin Salazar, calm voice. Asked me a few questions about property, finances. Kevin said we could start with a separation filing and move forward depending on how she reacted. I told him to move forward. That evening she finally texted. First time since she left. Hey, just checking in. You doing okay? Yeah. You? I replied. Fine. Just thinking about things. No mention of missing me. No curiosity about how I was holding up. Just a temperature check, like a CEO checking stock levels. I left it at that. On day 4, Kevin sent the draft paperwork to my email. I reviewed it, gave the go-ahead to serve her the next day. I didn't blast social media, didn't call her family. I just did what needed to be done. Because here's the thing no one tells you. When someone walks out thinking you'll chase them, the best move isn't yelling. It's silence, followed by action. And this was it. She came back on the 7th day. I had just gotten home, still had my keys in hand when I saw her standing in the living room like she'd never left. Her duffel bag was on the floor beside her. The moment our eyes met, she smiled like we were about to have a heartwarming reunion scene from a drama. She stepped forward. I've been thinking, maybe we needed this, a reset. I feel like we both said things. That got messy. I didn't reply. She glanced around, probably looking for signs that I'd fallen apart without her. Instead, she found a stack of papers on the kitchen counter, sealed envelope on top. Her name was printed neatly on it. She picked it up, opened it, and scanned the first page. Her face dropped. These are... She trailed off. Divorce papers, I said calmly. She looked up, wide-eyed. You're serious? You left to teach me a lesson. I'm just finishing the class. She blinked, stunned. Billy, come on. You know I didn't mean it like that. Natalie said. There it is again, I cut in. Natalie said. Carla said. What did you say, Audrey? I just thought you'd realize what you had if I stepped away for a bit. That you'd miss me. I did, I said. And I missed us. But I don't miss being tested like I'm some dog learning tricks. She started pacing. We can undo this. It's only been a few days. This was just a misstep. No, Audrey, I said. You made a choice. I'm making one too. Her eyes welled up, but I stayed steady. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because for the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was choosing peace over drama, clarity over confusion. You walked out to see how far I'd bend, I told her. Now you know, I don't. She sat at the edge of the couch for over an hour, just staring at the floor like it might give her better answers than I had. I didn't argue. I didn't try to comfort her. Eventually, she left. Took the papers with her. 2 days later, she called me. I didn't answer. She texted, "Can we please talk?" I let it sit unread. Then came the longer messages, the ones saying, I made a mistake, and I was listening to the wrong people. And that's when the cracks really started to show. Not in me, but in her little support squad. Natalie and Carla, Gone. She told me later that Natalie didn't even respond when she sent her a voice note crying after getting the papers. Carla left her on red. That was the twist she didn't see coming. The same women who coached her to walk out like it was a chess move vanished the second the game turned real. The truth is, they didn't expect her to actually follow through. They liked the drama, but they weren't built for cleanup. She tried calling them both again, then texting, and even showing up at Carla's apartment, but the door never opened. The same women who told her to walk out of her marriage couldn't even pick up a phone once the damage was real. And now, with her safety net pulled, she turned back to me. She showed up again. Different attitude, no makeup, no performative independence. She stood in the doorway and said, "I really messed this up." I didn't gloat. I didn't tear into her. I just looked her in the eye and asked, "If they told you to do it again, would you listen?" She shook her head, but I didn't believe it. Because the problem wasn't just them, it was that she let them steer the wheel while I sat in the passenger seat of my own marriage. I'd already been down that road once. I wasn't taking another ride. The papers went through faster than I expected. Audrey kept trying to stall. "Maybe we should pause it. Let's try counseling. It doesn't have to end like this." But it had already ended. The moment she zipped up that bag and walked out like our marriage was some social experiment, that's when it was over. The paperwork was just a formality. A week before the court date, she came by again. No dramatics this time, no tears, just quiet. She looked tired. She stared out at the yard. I was stupid. Natalie made it sound like this power move. Like, if I pulled away, you'd suddenly become this emotional wreck and start begging. "You were wrong," I said, "and she was never your friend." "I see that now," she whispered. We sat in silence for a while. Then she asked, "Is there really no chance?" I didn't answer right away. I let her sit in that space. Let her feel the weight of the decisions she made. Not to punish her, but because not every wound gets stitched back up. Finally, I said, "You left to test me." I passed. "You failed." She nodded slowly. "Fair. And even now," I added, "you're only here because they vanished. Not because you fought to fix anything. Not because you took ownership. You just ran back when your backup plan ghosted you." She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. She knew I wasn't wrong. "I never wanted this," she said. "Neither did I said. "But wanting something means nothing if you're willing to gamble it just to prove a point." She left a few minutes later, quietly. The court finalized everything 3 weeks later. Clean, split, done. I didn't celebrate. I didn't hit a bar. Didn't post some corny quote online about healing or freedom. I just went home, made dinner, sat on the same couch where everything started unraveling, and breathed. It was quiet, peaceful, no tension in the air, no fake silence covering up resentment, no wondering if a phone call from Natalie would change the temperature of my house. Just peace. A few people later asked if I'd ever take her back. "She's clearly sorry," they said. "People change." But I didn't need an apology. I needed someone who wouldn't weaponize absence, who wouldn't treat our marriage like a mood swing, who didn't need a crisis to remember what love is. That wasn't Audrey. And maybe that's the point. Sometimes the person you marry isn't the person who makes it to the end with you. Not because they're evil, not because you're not a perfect partner, but because they hand the wheel over to voices who never cared about your destination in the first place. She expected a breakdown. She got a boundary. You can't test someone's loyalty by threatening to leave and expect them to still be standing there with open arms when you get back. I hope she realized it. Thank you for watching.